Life Audio.
Welcome to the Untangling Prayer podcast. I'm Rachel Wojo, and each week we unravel life's knots through prayer. Here you'll find practical wisdom and prayer encouragement to guide you through life's hardest seasons. Join me as we untangle life's messes together, one prayer at a time. Hey there, welcome to this week's episode of Untangling Prayer with Rachel Wojo. Today I'm excited to share a little something different, a gift episode from my dear friends at Unhurried Living. Their podcast has been such a blessing to me, and I know you'll find the same as we dive into a powerful episode titled The Power of Raw and Authentic Prayer. Prayer is such a vital lifeline, especially in life's hardest moments, and the team at Unhurried Living beautifully captures what it looks like to bring your real, unfiltered self to God. Jim's message aligns so well with the heart of my podcast, Untangling Prayer, and my book, Desperate Prayers, Embracing the Power of Prayer in Life's Darkest Moments. So take a deep breath, lean in, and be encouraged by the wisdom and truth they share. Let's get started.
Long gone are the days when I have the energy to put on any pretense when I talk with God. This has become a welcome and freeing change in my prayer life. At this point in my journey, it is much more life-giving to simply declare the way things are rather than trying to tidy up my mess and present it in a nice, neat package. If I'm mad, sad, joyous, or frustrated, God already knows, and so I am free to express what is and to meet God right in the middle of it. Let's talk more about this kind of prayer now on the Unhurried Living podcast. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. I'm glad you found us. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'd love it if you'd share this podcast with your friends and colleagues. Over the decades, I have steadily made the move to pray more openly and honestly. I know and rely on God's love as it's declared in Isaiah 30:18. Yet the Lord longs to be gracious to you. Therefore, he will rise up to show you compassion. One time when I was early in my midlife undoing, I entered a season of regret which culminated in anger. Expectations and assumptions about how life works were unraveling around me, and all I could do was fume. I would lock myself in my bedroom and pace the floor, uttering my prayers through gritted teeth. It was during this time that my understanding of God's immense love expanded. I trusted with my entire being that no matter what I was feeling or thinking, God was holding me as I flailed. I knew God was big enough and strong enough to be patient with me as I made my way through that which I was experiencing. The gracious image God granted me, yes, right in the middle of my fuming, was that he was holding me in the palm of his giant, loving, and capable hand. Even though my most accessible feelings were frustration and anger, way deep down inside was an assurance that I was not alone, and in fact, God was walking with me in it. Now, there are some who may think this is wrong or distorted. Their arguments may sound like this. How can you show your anger to God? Where's your respect? Having doubts is not okay, and expressing them is even worse. He's the king of the universe, you know. Well, yet all I have to do is open the Psalms to see that this is misguided thinking. The psalmists were absolutely unafraid to share all their emotions with God in prayer. Psalm 13:1-2 says, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts day after day, have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me?" And in Psalm 44:23-25, we read, "Awake, Lord, why do you sleep? Rouse yourself. Do not reject us forever. Why do you hide your face and forget our misery and oppression? We are brought down to the dust. Our bodies cling to the ground. Now that is putting it all out there, wouldn't you say? Now, of course, I'm not saying that we need to unnecessarily wallow around in anger or doubt. With time and support, of course, we can and will move through it. But while it is occurring, it doesn't do any good to deny the situation. It's best not to be angry for anger's sake or to allow bitterness to grow, but to acknowledge and feel our emotions is what helps us move through them. And doing this with God is a part of life. Many psalmists allow for the expressions of emotion, and if you follow them all the way through, you see their ultimate trust in God emerge. The psalmists don't leave themselves in anger or sadness, but they acknowledge and move through it with God. Following the Psalm 13 verses I read are verses 5 and 6. But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me. And following the Psalm 44 verses is verse 26. Rise up and help us. Rescue us because of your unfailing love. Underneath their honest proclamation of frustration, they still trust in God's love, and they declare that as well. We can follow this example by allowing ourselves to acknowledge what God already sees. This enables our freedom. The trick is not to rush through it. Yes, in the Psalms, in one verse they are lamenting, and in the next they're trusting. But in real life, that movement may take days, weeks, months, or even longer. Grief has no timetable. Healing from years of abuse takes time. Again, this is not permission to wallow unnecessarily. It is, however, permission to acknowledge, feel, and move through your emotions and experiences so that you won't find a way to express them in ways that are truly unhelpful to you or those around you. It is good to allow for enough time to pass for this to take root. Everyone sits next to a pool of their own tears. Pastor and social activist Gordon Cosby said this to pastor and teacher Trevor Hudson as Trevor was about to re-enter the pastorate. It was a timely reminder for Trevor that when he looks out on his congregation, he acknowledges that everyone is in a place of their own suffering. Here's the full quote. Whenever you teach, whenever you preach, whenever you pastor, don't ever forget every person in your church sits next to their own pool of tears. And knowing that you may be sitting next to your own pool of tears, feel free to pray from where you are, not from where you think you should be. Pray from inside your feelings. Pray honestly. There's no reason to hide or sugarcoat anything. Reality is your best friend, and you can meet God there. God's love will hold you as you do. God's love will walk with you in it as you make your way toward healing. As Abbot John Chapman has said, pray as you can, not as you can't. Let's reflect together for a moment, and maybe you can take these questions and journal with them later. What does your own pool of tears feel like these days? Is there anger hidden in your heart somewhere? Have you locked it up, hoping it will dissipate on its own? Meet God there. Wherever you find your heart today, meet God there. Say what you want to say and leave it at the feet of Jesus. The loving Trinity can hold you and is longing to show you compassion as you make your way. So pray as you can, not as you can't. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Unhurried Living podcast. Remember, you're making your way forward one small, simple, and gracious step at a time.
beauty of being raw and authentic in our prayers. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to explore my book, Desperate Prayers, Embracing the Power of Prayer in Life's Darkest Moments. It's full of stories, scriptures, and practical encouragement to deepen your prayer life, even when life feels overwhelming. Thanks so much for spending time with me today, and a big thank you to my friends at Unhurried Living for such a timely and powerful message. I hope you'll stop by and visit them. They're in my network at Life Audio. Until next time, let's keep untangling prayer together. See you again soon. Remember, until next time, God sees you and knows your need. Thanks for joining me on the Untangling Prayer podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who could use a little hope. And be sure to subscribe for more. Until next time, keep seeking, keep trusting, and keep praying.
I'm Billy Yancey, entrepreneur, fitness cowboy, father, retired Navy cornerback, and now podcast host. Listen to my new show, Billy and the Goat, on Life Audio. Happy listening.